players. Two players at very different points in their career. One at the beginning and one nearing the end. And I don't know what's more impressive from what we're seeing here. My inclination is the younger one, but I'm curious what you think about this. Having and hello, by the way, welcome to the sheet once again, Monday, October 27th. Great to have you aboard. Today we're going to highlight the two hottest teams in the NHL, the Utah Mammoth and the New Jersey Devils. Bill Armstrong, GM of the Mammoth, and Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the New Jersey Devils, both are aboard a little bit later on. So having a quick look at your points leaders around the NHL. Eichel in at number one, tied with Nick Schmaltz. Another story there that we'll get into with Bill Armstrong a little bit later on. That's great to see, by the way. But then in at number three, Macklin Celebrini with 15 points. William Nylander tied with 14 points with Nathan MacKinnon, Kirill Kaprizov, and Yevgeny Malkin. Yevgeny Malkin, who has 14 points so far this season. Those are the two that I'm curious about here. Your thoughts on both of these. What's more impressive to you, what Malkin is doing or what Celebrini is doing? For me, just for me, it's Celebrini because we never see things like this out of a teenager. And as far as Malkin goes, I don't think he's going to remain top five in scoring all season long. I kind of don't think we're going to see that from Macklin Celebrini all season either. But if you have a look at what, Malkin does, he tends to, at least the last couple of seasons, so this is perhaps no surprise, start hot. 11 points in 5 games last season. He's having another great start right now with 14 points and top 5 in NHL scoring. Macklin Celebrini is a special player. Macklin Celebrini is like not to heap too much pressure on you, kid, but Macklin Celebrini is kind of like a more offensively gifted Jonathan Toews. Rightly or wrongly, he's going to be compared to Connor Bedard. Wrongly, because they're different players. But Macklin Celebrini is that 3-zone player, great defensively, great offensively, amazing instincts on both sides of the puck. Real smart player, real enthusiastic element of the game that he brings. And there's a moment in the that overtime against Minnesota yesterday where the San Jose Sharks didn't touch the puck. The Sharks did not touch the puck. And who was it? Liljegren was out there with Alexander Venberg for the entire 3:47 of overtime. San Jose was able to execute one change because Minnesota didn't let go of the puck. They grabbed it and they kept it until Macklin Celebrini touched the puck. You got a breakaway, and then it was over. And because I'm a stickler for these types of things, the first thing I think about is how did he score the goal? Where did he score the goal? And sure enough, it's something that we talked about a lot last year, and we'll do it again right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're not, you've probably seen the highlight, but go back and watch it again. Watch where Celebrini scores here. Where's that shot, Zach? We've talked about it for a long time here on this program and elsewhere. It's a triangle goal for Macklin Celebrini. He's in full stride, head up, and still has the wherewithal to go, I see a little triangle there on Jesper Wallstedt. That's where I'm going. That is such a gorgeous goal. It's perfect. It's right along the ice. And what makes it even, and I don't think he's thinking this for 1 second. I know I'm just making this up in my own head. I'm making up my own little story here. But what makes it even more poetic is, who is the player who, more than anybody else in the NHL, popularized the triangle goal? And for those who don't know, the triangle goal is that area to the right side of a goaltender between the right skate and the heel of the goalie stick, the heel of the goalie paddle, that leads all the way up to the pads, which makes a tiny triangle. And that's where guys shoot now more so than ever. They're not actually shooting 5-hole. They're trying to hit their inside of the right skate. And that's what Celebrini did yesterday. So against the Minnesota Wild, and the poetry in this one is the player who popularized the triangle goal more than anybody else in the NHL, Matt Zuccarello. Anywho, Minnesota's in a tough way right now. St. Louis is in a tough way right now. You can look at the San Jose Sharks and say, they've only got a couple of wins on the season, but this isn't a season for wins and losses for the San Jose Sharks. This is one of those seasons, and we have these with teams where the only question you have about them is, are the kids getting better. Celebrini, clearly getting better. Will Smith, getting better. Michael Misa, congratulations. First career NHL goal. Many more to come. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Two players that are different, complete loggerheads in their career, both doing impressive things to kick off the season. Actually, the look at the top 10 is pretty intriguing. Whether it's Eichel, Nick Schmaltz has turned himself into a great story to kick off the campaign this year. I don't think anyone thinks he's going to remain tied for first place with a scoring lead with Jack Eichel at 16 points here right now, but he's in a contract year. Timing's everything in life, right? Timing is everything in life. Nylander, Malkin, Kaprizov, for those of you, even though he hasn't started his new contract yet, even though Kaprizov signs that massive deal, there's some that you better earn it. Well, already Kirill Kaprizov is earning it, even though the Minnesota Wild are in a tough spot. Nathan MacKinnon, Mark Stone, the injured one. Dylan Larkin, who's had a great start to the campaign this season. And Mark Scheifele, who is playing like a player possessed and inspired to do a couple of things here. One, get the Winnipeg Jets deeper into the playoffs. Dare I even say win a Stanley Cup. And two, get himself a position on Team Canada for the Olympics. He was not thrilled, and I'm not surprised. I don't blame him that he didn't go to the Four Nations last year. Very much wants to make it on Team Canada for the Olympics this season. Okay, in the meantime, let's get the program underway here and get to all the things that we want to talk about here. The show is, as always, and the blueprint is, as always, powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game. Coming up on the program today, here's the plan. We are going to talk to a couple of very important gentlemen who are helping to shepherd two very important teams through the early part of the schedule. Sheldon Keefe is the head coach of the New Jersey Devils. He's going to join me here in about 12 minutes. Bill Armstrong is the general manager of the Utah Mammoth. They've won 7 in a row. New Jersey's won 8 in a row. Both teams are hitting their stride early. Plenty to get to by way of roster construction and expectation for Bill Armstrong as far as Sheldon Keefe goes. A few of the things to keep in mind here with the New Jersey Devils is just how dynamic that top 9 looks on a consistent basis, to say nothing about Jake Allen. And I know a lot of coaches will just say, that's out of my purview, that's not in my lane. But one of the great stories kicking off this season with the New Jersey Devils record being where it's at is they're not doing this with Jacob Markstrom. They are doing this with Jake Allen. We'll get Sheldon Keefe's thoughts on the goaltender coming up in a little bit here. Alexander Ovechkin, game number 1,500. Also, he's on goal number 899. Scoring Friday night against Columbus. Nice face-off win by Dylan Strome. Set play, Ovi scores. Beats Jet Greaves. Was a big night for Ovechkin. Was a big night for the Washington Capitals. They laid an egg the next night against the Ottawa Senators. And we almost saw a goalie fight. But we didn't. Officials. Linus Ullmark and Charlie Lindgren. And we'll talk about Kucherov getting point number 1,000 as well. Why don't we start there, Zach, before we get to Sheldon Keefe, who's going to be buzzing in about 10 minutes here. Quick thought on Nikita Kucherov, one of the most entertaining players in the game, both on and off the ice. There's always going to be, the cap conversation around him, just like there'll always be the cap conversation around Pat Kane and the cap conversation around Mark Stone. I thought that nobody handled it better and more comedically than Nikita Kucherov did. Because you can remember during that Tampa Bay Stanley Cup run, he was the best interview. And that goes a long way when you talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning, because John Cooper's always the best interview with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But Kucherov was money every time he got in the mic and was best with the T-shirt after they won the Stanley Cup. Just a cherry on top of all of it. So Kucherov gets 1,000 points. One of the questions has always been, who's the best Tampa Bay Lightning player, much like it is for every other team. And I think rightfully, and he's 136 points away from the all-time Tampa lead in points from Steven Stamkos, who, by the way, is having a really bad season. Shh, it's really bad. Is Nikita Kucherov the best Tampa Bay Lightning player of all time? You have to whisper that, or it's a delicate subject. But
it felt weird to hear you whisper, to be honest.
Two points.
I've never heard that.
He's got 2 points in 10 games, 1 goal and 1 assist.
Mm-hmm.
This is after everybody said Tampa was dumb to let him go. Mind you, he was coming off a 40-goal campaign. So, like, I don't know too many teams walking away from 40-goal scores. But nonetheless. Kucherov, the best Tampa Bay Lightning player of all time. I say yes. What do you say?
I say yes as well. I think one of the things that's really interesting and gives support to it, ask NHL players who their favorite player to watch is or
100%.
learn from
100%.
or whatever it may be. It's like almost always Nikita Kucherov. People will have different answers for varying reasons, but he's always at least honorable mention, which I think goes to say, here's the best players in the world telling you their favorite player is this guy. He is... It's a treat every time you watch him, and it's just like he does something unexpected every time. And sometimes it's not the highlight reel thing that's unexpected. You know, we've seen the plays where he drives behind the net on his backhand, he's protecting it to the outside, and then throws a no-looker to a guy backdoor. Sure, that's a highlight reel thing, but it'll be the play where he drives down the wall and just stops up to turn back the other way and puts the puck between his feet, and the defender's 6 feet down lower into the corner. Where it's like, that's not going to go on the highlight, but just the ability to create space and open other people up and do things that other guys can't do, and seeing things where he makes passes, Jeff, sometimes I watch and I'm like, how did you see that? Because the guy who got the puck didn't even see that. He didn't know that was possible for it to come to him. But it's awesome. I do agree with you, best Tampa Bay Lightning player of all time.
And this is why I always say that there's an obligation for general managers to talk about their careers when they're done, and maybe even write books. Because one of the great conversations, as you sort of present the alternative history of the National Hockey League, what if? Now, 2019, Alison Lukan was just on the program. She covers the Seattle Kraken now. Allison was talking about, she used to cover the Columbus Blue Jackets with The Athletic, and the 2019 series with Columbus, and the sweep of the President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning. Kucherov was suspended in those playoffs as well. Like, there was a whole lot of chaos kind of with the Tampa Bay Lightning at that time. And one of the discussions, and just think about how different the hockey world is if this actually goes anywhere. Okay, much like there was the conversation of Joe Thornton for Roberto Luongo 1-for-1 when the Boston Bruins were shopping Joe Thornton, which was very much a discussion. There were discussions, I've talked about this before, there were discussions between the Edmonton Oilers and the Tampa Bay Lightning about Nikita Kucherov and Leon Draisaitl. How different is the NHL universe if that goes somewhere and Nikita Kucherov is playing with the Oilers with Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl is playing with the Tampa Bay Lightning? It's things like that that A, are catnip for fans, and B, are like a legitimate part of the history of the game, right? Yeah. Where were all these conversations, and how did they, obviously this one ended up nowhere, but how did you get to what you talked about, and who turned it down, and all these different types of things, which is why I always maintain that it's important for managers, I think, to write books or document what happened in their careers as the stewards of the game of hockey. We keep hearing, do what's good for the game. I think that's great for the game. We hear from everybody else. We have players' books. We have referees' books. We have tons of coaches' books. Berkey wrote a GM book. Jason Ferris wrote a great book on the history of general managers, which I recommend for everybody. One of my favorite books of all time, Behind the Moves. It's fantastic. It's been out of print for a couple of years and tough and a little bit expensive to find, but man, is it ever worth it. I just like that. I just think that GMs need, anyway, I just think that GMs need to write books to talk about what happened while they were running team X, Y, and Z, or X, Y, and Z for a friend stateside. Anywho,
or what didn't happen for that matter.
That's it. Like the great, like how great are the stories about, the greatest trades that never happened, right? Yeah. It's like it's an overflowing well, and every manager can write volume after volume of book just based on trades that started and went nowhere, or got derailed, or thought they had a deal, something happened, and then it was off. I don't know, man. Give your fans catnip. Like, seriously, make it interesting. Yeah. Let us know what almost happened in the NHL.
Well, to that point, and little cross promo for the network here, the 6 inning stretch show with Lindsey Dunn and Whit Merrifield. Whit, obviously longtime MLB player. He told a story that he was told after the fact that he was almost traded to the Seattle Mariners, to the point that the equipment team for Seattle had his stall ready with his jerseys, his bags, all the gear, everything, and they were prepared for him to be a Mariner. He didn't even know the trade was happening. Like, could you imagine how far down the line it had to have gotten? And then he found out, and somebody on the team, one of his friends, had told him, "Hey, dude, you were almost traded here." And he's like, "What? I was? I didn't even know." It's just like, there's all these things you find out you don't even know about. Yeah,
I want to get in touch. I want to reach out to Scotty Bowman soon and get Scotty on the program. One of my favorite stories. He'd be able to obviously tell this with a lot more authority. When he was in St. Louis, he was so mad. And it was either Bob or Barclay Plager. He was mad at one of them and called them up and said, "That's it. I've had it. Enough. I'm trading you. Pack your bags. Go to the airport. When you get there, call me. I'll tell you where you're going." So he went, called Scotty back. His guy's like, "Nah, I changed my mind. Go home."
All right, never mind. Had enough time to breathe.
That's right. I had a little cool down time. So yeah, don't worry about it. You can actually come home from the airport now. You're really not going anywhere. A couple other notes around the NHL. And Sheldon Keefe's going to be joining us here in a couple of moments. Just give me the heads up when Sheldon buzzes in. Do you want to do the hits? Do you want to do the hits that we saw? Like, I don't. It's tempting sort of to turn, because you could, every program into an audit on hits. But I'm trying to parse here a major difference between the Taylor Hall Roope Hintz hits and the Tom Wilson Ridley Gregg hit. Which one do you want to show first here?
Let's start with the Wilson one, because I think that this one ends up with no penalty and it's a little bit easier, and I kind of feel like you and I are on the same page with this one. So starting with the Tom Wilson hit on Ridley Gregg the other day.
This was a blowout by the Ottawa Senators, but it's still early, and Wilson runs over Ridley Gregg. And there's nothing. I don't think there should be. Gregg is sort of leaning over a little bit. But I think what the mitigating factor is here with the Taylor Hall hit, which was penalized, and even people were screaming for a suspension on this one, is I got to look at it from behind just to see, like, his elbow is down, his shoulder is down, like the elbow is tucked. He's getting him on shoulder. He comes up a little bit on him. But as long as he's not on the head, you're fine. I just wonder if it's how many strides right before the hits.
But in both instances, both guys had their feet planted. So, and I'll ask, this is more of a question than it is me making my own personal statement on the hits. What is the amount of strides? What is the amount of distance that you need between planting your feet and making the hit for it to be legal? Because in my opinion,
how much coast time you're asking, right? Because that's Tom Wilson.
Right.
Wilson on Gregg, he coasts for a long time before
a long
hit.
time. And Taylor Hall, sure, there's like debatable, but I think that's got to be it, right? Because Taylor Hall's is just less. But even to his credit, he's planted. Like he's not having the wheels turning all the way through and just blowing up Hintz right through the hit. He plants, he gets ready for it, he gets his legs into position to kind of go with an explosive, powerful stance through the hit. Yeah. And that's the other point too, by the way. Like the Wilson one, I think there's two parts to why he doesn't his body never leaves the ice. One, as Spencer Carberry told us last week, he is a mountain of a man. So just natural gravity is going to pull him down. And two, just the size of him versus Ridley Gregg. Not a knock on Ridley Gregg, just the two people involved in that one when moving at that pace, and Wilson expecting it, Gregg not, he's not going to go up. The Taylor Hall one is more like equal mass against equal mass. So in my opinion, when they go into each other, it's much more likely for both guys to end up in the air. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with the speed he's going in at, with charging at him, or him leaving the ice at all. I think it's just based on impact. Mm-hmm. There's two bodies colliding and you go up. So that eliminates the charge for me there too.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if now we're in an era where once upon a time, everybody would be prepared for contact at all times, and so they'd be ready for hits. Now that we're starting to see more physicality in the game the last couple of seasons, and this season specifically, I just wonder if it's just going to be an adjustment period where players have to go back to assuming that on every play, not only are they eligible to be hit, but they will be hit. And sometimes quite violently. I mean, how many times have you watched a game and you've said, "Oh man, I can't believe that he wasn't like he could have blown him up on that game on that play. I can't believe that he wasn't prepared." Like it happens every single game. Like I just wonder if players have now completely defaulted to I'm not expecting to get hit. So when I do get hit, it seems a lot harsher than it should be, and I should brace myself. You know, this is one of the things you should talk to Sheldon Keefe about. Right? When do we have Sheldon aboard yet? Let me know when Sheldon's going to be popping on. So that I do wonder about if at the end of the day here we just have a whole generation of hockey players that are defaulting to hockey is more of a skill game than a violence game. And now that more of the hitting is coming back into the game, maybe they're just flat out not prepared for it. I'm not sure. But our next guest will be standing by here in a couple of moments, and this segment is a presentation of Prime Monday Night Hockey. Prime Monday Night Hockey streams all national regular season Monday night NHL games on Prime Video in Canada and is available free to Prime members in Canada. Stream Prime Monday Night Hockey exclusively on Prime Video and experience thrilling goals and dramatic plays from the NHL. Monday nights are hockey nights. Don't miss a moment of the action. Coming up tonight, Atlantic Division matchup. Bruins are in Ottawa to take on the Sens. No Linus Ullmark on this one. He's got the full day off. Check out the link in our description for the Prime Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video, or go to primevideo.com/NHL. Also on Prime Video, Face Off Inside the NHL Season 2. Subscribe with a 30-day free trial to Prime Video to watch Monday Night Hockey and the new season of Face Off. Download the app or go to primevideo.com. And with that, we'll default to the coach of the hottest team in the NHL. They are the New Jersey Devils. Sheldon Keefe is handling things behind the bench for the Devils once again this season. He joins me now. Sheldon, first of all, thanks for taking time today, and congratulations on the early success. It's all coaching, right?
As we know, there's lots more that goes into that, and we've been really lucky. You know, the guys have gotten off to a good start here. Our special teams and our goaltending have been outstanding, and that's carried us through lots. And then we've had some great individual efforts along the way. So, you know, all that stuff has helped us here while we continue to button up our structure and all that, those sorts of things.
You mentioned the goaltending, and I was wondering about this too. Like some coaches, as you know, are sort of hands off with the goalie. You know, goalies are voodoo. You handle the goalie, I'll handle everybody else. Jake Allen has been phenomenal for the New Jersey Devils, and so is Nico Daws. But Jake Allen has really turned heads. He's always kind of been the goalie's goalie. You know, whenever he's done with the game, it's going to be still doing goalie camps. Maybe he'll be a goalie instructor, but he's like the goalie lifer in the NHL. Do you have a thought or two on the veteran who is a Stanley Cup champion himself, Jake Allen?
Well, you kind of covered it there. You know, he's so dialed in on his own game and his own preparation, yet he's got incredible leadership qualities to help the entire team and individual players on the ice, off the ice. So a great luxury for me to have as a coach. And, you know, I said all that without even talking about the fact that he keeps the puck out of the net and seems to simplify the game for his teammates when he's in there. So he's been great. We're very lucky here between he and Jacob Markstrom to have two veteran guys that I would say just get it in lots of different ways, and they help drive things. It's very, very unique to have two veteran guys like that are just have such great leadership qualities to match their skill level on the ice.
8 wins in a row. Jack Hughes looks great. Jesper Bratt looks fantastic. You know, we're seeing, you know, some of the best of Timo Meier. Nico Hischier always should be in the conversation for the Selke Trophy. Dawson Mercer, welcome back. Connor Brown with 5 goals. When you look at your top 9, Sheldon, specifically, what does the coach see?
Well, you mentioned a lot of the names I think we've come to know and expect there. I think, the Arseniy Gritsuk is a name that I think has really really helped that group, come together. And Cody Glass, for that matter, is injured right now. We've been playing without him for the last few games, but that line of Gritsuk, Glass, and Brown had given us a third line that had been very productive, but also playing against other teams, really, top players at different times. Which, with Nico Hischier, who takes on a lot of those matchups as well, that really allowed me to use Jack Hughes and his line freely and get some favorable matchups, and that really seemed to help get their game going. And now we've got, as you mentioned, we've got three lines going really well, and with Glass's injury, we've used Mercer in the middle here recently, and Gritsuk moved up to play with Nico, so we just got great depth, and that's really shown early on here. You got lots of hockey to play, of course, and
Sure.
it seems unfortunately every game we play, we seem to be losing a guy to injury and such, but the depth has certainly helped us.
Off the Devils page for 1 second, I was talking about this before you came on. A couple of every night there's big hits. It seems as if, physicality has re-entered the NHL. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year, whether it's Wilson on Hins from the weekend, whether it's Taylor Hall on Rupe Hins, whether it's the Hedl hit last Sunday in the Vancouver-Washington game. I wonder about players. Like, you've got kids that play hockey. I've got kids that play hockey too. And I always tell them, be prepared on every time you're out there, expect that you're going to be hit. And if you get hit, you'll be prepared. But if you don't get hit, that's a bonus. Do you find that perhaps now, like, there's been a whole generation where everything's about speed and skill, that players are still understanding or preparing themselves to be hit every play? Or is the default setting still for a lot of guys, I'm not going to get hit while I'm out here?
You know what? It's a great question. I do think, of course, there's far more speed and skill oriented players that are entering the league and playing high level competitive hockey than there are, bruising physical players that are going to drive through you. I still think, as you just alluded to, with some of those names that are still in the NHL, and there'll be more to come. Yeah. That are going to run through you each time. You got to be aware of these guys, and I think defensively, you try to teach your guys to be physical and get players stopped as much as you can. So, as a coach, you're always emphasizing the physicality. I think it's just such a vital tool to be able to utilize in our game, defensively, especially to get people stopped. You got to be aware. But yeah, it's interesting. I've got two boys playing, and one's in his first year of contact here this year, and my older guy, a couple years older, has been through it a little bit. And I still see, more than enough big hits out there. Players have to manage that and be aware of that. You constantly got to still be coaching it. I think whether it's live on the bench or through video, of just be aware of your surroundings. Be conscious of where you bring the puck and where the contact may come, and don't be surprised if it does arrive. In my case, both my boys played lacrosse before getting into contact hockey. I think all of those sorts of things, allows you to play with your head up and be conscious of your surroundings. But yeah, I think I don't think it's ever going to disappear fully. So you got to make sure we're still reinforcing this. And I think a lot of the best skills coaches and things out there are very conscious of these things, and always have those defenders and such on the ice that are going to, make you have to keep your head up and be mindful of how you control a puck and use your body to protect it.
Let me get a quick question from the chat here. Walt619, what do you attribute to Palat's resurgence? He's playing physical again and is engaged, and on that Hughes-Bratt line. It was years ago, I would look at Andre Palat and go, like, he's like Marian Hossa light. Like, that's kind of how I see Andre Palat. What do you attribute this resurgence to Andre Palat?
Yeah, you know what, Jeff? I mean, I struggle with the word resurgence when it comes to Pally. I think he's pretty consistent in who he is. As he's gotten older here, he's had to really lean in more on his play off the puck and forechecking and earning pucks back and being around the net and all those kind of things that just so happen to be things that the Hughes and Bratt pairing can really benefit from. So that's why I think the line works, and he works all the way back to our end, and the way he tracks, and a lot of the things he does off the puck benefit our team and his line mates on the puck. And I felt the same last season. So I don't look at this necessarily as a resurgence. It's early in the season here, first of all. I mean, we're making any sort of proclamations about any one player or any team at this stage. It's a little bit preliminary to do such a thing. But we've been happy with how Pally's fit. He didn't start on that line early on through training camp and such, but then we lost Evgeny Dadonov early in the season, and we put Pally back in that spot, and the line just hasn't missed a beat.
Maybe the answer to this is Nico Hischier, since he does so much. But who would you say your most versatile player is right now? Like when you mention Andre Palat, like that's when I think back to the Tampa days. It's like he could play anywhere up and down the lineup. But who's your most versatile guy right now?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nico's an easy answer because he does so many things. He touches the game in so many ways. But of course, he is a center, and he does so many things as a center. He's great defensively. He takes on all the heavy matchups, and he also generates offense and scores himself. But when I think about versatility, a lot of times I'm thinking more about the wingers that can move around and play different spots. And I look at Dawson Mercer as a guy right now. As I mentioned, we had an injury to Cody Glass, and we needed a center. And Mercer's able to step in there as he did last year in the playoffs when we didn't have Jack Hughes. We needed Mercer to play center, and we think he's a better winger. He thinks he's a better winger. He feels a lot more comfortable there. But when needed, we got to put him there. So I look at him. I look at Connor Brown. I think is a guy who's new to our team here, not necessarily new to me. My time with him in the Marlies, which made such a great impression on me, and I followed his career very closely. So we're lucky to have him now. But another guy, like he can take on defensive responsibilities, play low in your lineup, but I think he's got a good enough skill set and head about him to play with top players if needed. So those guys come to mind for me. We've Arsenij Gritsuk. This guy is everything that we've given him: left wing, right wing, bottom lines, fourth line, third line, second line, power play. Like he's done it all here in the early going for a guy coming over from the KHL that's still learning not just the game but the language. I've been so impressed with him. So that gives me great options as a coach.
Let me close with something that I asked Spencer Carberry on the show actually exactly a week ago. I asked him, what is a non-negotiable that you have for your players? And his answer was, I'm paraphrasing here, something along the lines of, for all of our forwards, it doesn't matter who you are, first line, second line, third line, fourth line. The non-negotiable is you have to be willing to go to the front of the net. You need to go to the danger areas. You need to do that, or you can't play here. Sheldon, what are some of or one of the non-negotiables that you have for players? I know everyone's different, so this guy can play like this, that guy can play like that, but what is a Sheldon Keefe non-negotiable?
Well, I mean, that's a good one for Carbs there for sure on the offensive side of it. For me, if I had to just give you one thing, it's everything that happens without the puck. I mean, the defensive structure is, no matter where you play or in the lineup or who you are, it's adhering to that. So the big thing I would say is how we come back to our net and how we protect our net. That's so vital. You get a little more offensive leeway for different players, on the other side of it, and they're going to make their reads. But defensively, when we don't have the puck, every single player has to be accountable to our structure and protecting our net. And I would say that's the top one is to help keep it out.
Your team's hot. Your team's a lot of fun to watch. Winners of 8 in a row. Good luck tomorrow against the Avalanche. Sheldon, thanks so much for this.
You got it, Jeff. Thank you.
Good luck to the boys, too. Good luck to the boys. Hockey coach, hockey dad. Sheldon Keefe, head coach of the New Jersey Devils. We thank him for his time and thank the New Jersey Devils for making him available as well. This really is, Zach, a fun hockey team to watch. And I always say this, making sure that, knock on wood and he stays healthy. Again, this is a Devils team that's never had a 100-point scorer. Never had a 100-point scorer. Jack Hughes came close with 99 a couple of years ago. But provided he stays healthy, we may see it for the first time. Just stay healthy.
Fingers crossed on that one. Healthy. I think we will see it. To your point about a fun team to watch, Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen the meme. People in the chat probably will get this one at least. It's
What
like the
is it?
basketball player on the bench where he's got the disappointed face.
Oh
And
yeah,
then he
yeah,
realized,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Mm-hmm,
that was
yeah.
me watching the Devils play the Leafs, where I was like, "This sucks," and then I was like, "It's entertaining at least." I'm like, well, getting our shit kicked, but kind of fun to watch in some ways. So, all right.
Yeah. You know what the impressive thing is too right now with this 8-game winning streak?
So,
They're doing it without Quinn Hughes. Sorry. We're sitting right there. Come on. It's like the most obvious joke. Come on. I'm not even 100% sure that ends up happening. I know it like makes for a nice story. They all want to play together. But you know what I keep coming back to on that issue? If Quinn Hughes goes to New Jersey, by then Dougie Hamilton's going to be done. Whose power play time is Quinn Hughes going to end up taking?
well,
Luke.
as we've seen, yes, as we've seen how they're handling things now, maybe it just alternates. Maybe it's situational. Maybe Luke's better with one thing and Quinn's better with the other.
Yeah, okay. You won't want Quinn out there for the full 2 minutes on a power play. Okay.
Well, you also if those guys, this is one of those ones where if you've got those guys, you can just play them both. You could find a way to structure that where they could both be out there. Like, I'm sorry, one of the forwards, but reality is going to come where you're going to look at Quinn Hughes, and likely at that point, just based on maturity, development, whatever, Luke Hughes, they will be better offensive players, or good enough at least, to go out there over one of the forwards that you have. Like, this is... And then if you have the ability to go 2 defensemen on the ice who are that good offensively, I think you just got to take it. And you can play the whole 2 minutes. You're not going to give anything up defensively. And you're going to fill the back of the net. And then you're going to have 3 Hughes brothers with 100 points. You're going to go from no New Jersey Devils players with 100 points to 3 on the same team.
Okay, so you're talking me into this one, and now we're gonna have to talk down Vancouver Canucks. Oh, speaking of the Vancouver Canucks, don't look now, but you know who looked good? Lucas Reichel over the weekend, second line center spot. Lucas Reichel looked good. You know who else looked good this weekend for the Vancouver? Elias Pettersson looked good. 4 points in 2 games. Trying to hang on to anything at this point right now. For the Vancouver Canucks, right?
I know. The boys on the Morning Cup of Hockey talked about it there a little bit as well, though, and it's one of the things I think about. And Rosie talked about it. Barnaby, actually, it's kind of weird. I think everybody across the network had brought it up at some point today, but Barnaby on Leafs Morning Take brought it up. You see these guys who come into the NHL, and it's like, okay, they got a sick game. One game they did really well, put up a bunch of points. What happens the next one? What happens when you don't put up the points? What's your game like then?
Yeah.
Just wait on Reichel, and I
All
think
I'm
that's
saying-
kind of the problem with Pettersson right now.
All I'm saying
Point,
is
sure,
like
but-
he looked good. I mean, everyone was waiting. He was waiting. The entire NHL world knew this guy was getting dealt somewhere. All I'm saying is I was impressed with Lucas Reichel. I thought he did good. That's all. I'm not saying he's gonna, get the Vancouver Canucks on his back and go to the playoffs. All I'm saying was I think Lucas Reichel looked good this weekend. Just
Yeah,
an observation. And I
that's
thought
fair.
Elias Pettersson, not vintage Pettersson, but looked good.
Yeah. Hey, look, that was a sneaky little news drop too. Like, I was just looking at my phone. It's like, oh, Lucas Reichel on his way to Vancouver. Okay, like what the hell?
Yeah, the crappy thing about it was like an hour after we went off the air with Pagnotta. And we were talking
know.
about like where Lucas Reichel's going to go. I'm like, okay, well that
I
segment
know.
lived for about an hour. It was relevant for about an hour.
I
of
write all
hockey
these
talk.
down of like what can we talk about and what are things to be putting out after the fact and like clips to
Yeah.
be going off of, and it was like
Yeah.
I had it on my list and was just delete like an hour later sitting on my
Nope.
computer gone.
Yep,
Thank you.
Can't do it. Yeah,
Good try.
Punt. Yep. See you later on that one. We're standing by for Bill Armstrong, the general manager of the Utah Mammoth, winners of 7 in a row. And again, when you talk about fun teams to watch, Utah Mammoth are a lot of fun. I'll tell you what. There was a play last night. I'm not sure if you watched the Winnipeg game. Late in the third period, Dylan Gunther scores what turns out to be the game-winning goal. But on that play, J.J. Peterka is in a puck race with Logan Stanley, and it turns into like this physical battle between JJ Peterka and Logan Stanley, who is like 6'1", and you think to yourself like, okay, this might just end up being bug meets windshield, and Peterka wins it. Peterka wins it, and it helps set up Dylan Guenther, who makes like another perfect shot because he's Dylan Guenther. And the Utah Mammoth are off to the races and have beaten the Winnipeg Jets, and they've now won 7 games in a row. And when you talk about, again, fun teams to watch, put the Mammoth right up there amongst the tops in the NHL. Like, Logan Cooley looks so good. JJ Peterka looks good. Karel Vejmelka looks really good. The other person we're standing by for Bill Armstrong. We'll get into this with him a little bit too. Very low key, because I don't think he's much of a self promoter, and he's a pretty like understated kind of guy. Corey Schwab's done a good job historically with Coyotes / Mammoth netminders. When you think of like you know, the Darcy Kempers and the Aiden Hills that have come out from Carter Hutton. You know, in San Jose when Schwab was there, like our boy Hutz was there with Corey Schwab as well. All I'm saying is he doesn't get a lot of headlines. Corey Schwab doesn't, but he's been pretty instrumental in the careers of some pretty high-end Stanley Cup goaltenders, and I'm happy for Vejmelka here. I really am.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. It's nice to see like this excitement around the team, a buy-in, the fact that they were hearing, and it seems like it's going to be the case, and how it was happening in the summer as well, but that they're going to go after some of these guys. I also just enjoy that they're like these young guys around each other's age. There's this happy, excited energy about them, and they're not just skilled players right now. You're seeing like a buy-in to the actual side of the game that's like, hey, we're not just going to skill our way through things and get more points than the other team. We're going to, where we can just do that because we just have that much talent. Well, like they're actually playing hockey. Like they're doing things that you will take to win games when it matters most. Like you can see that there's a future to that.
And they're rough, right? Like they don't get pushed around. Like I love Jack McBain. I really, really like Jack McBain. Lawson Krause as well. This is Liam O'Brien, who will fight anybody, essentially. Yeah. Walk into our barn and Liam O'Brien will fight him. Like it is a really good mix. I'll tell you what, Logan Cooley, that was the Montreal draft, the Slafkovsky draft. There were a lot of teams that had Logan Cooley number 1. Like full stop. There were teams that had Logan Cooley number 1. I know managers always hate it when you go back. When I used to work with Doug McLean, and I always bring something like this up because he was obviously thinking about Kopitar and Gilbert Brule. You're like, oh God, here we go with the redraft. Okay, yeah, no one's got a hand on the wheel, but everybody knows 3 years later who they should have drafted first, second, and third. Everybody's a genius general manager. Never had it, and I get it. But that was a great pick. That was a great pick for the Coyotes. It really, really was. And you're starting to see this guy start to take off. And listen, as the St. Louis Blues stumble, as the Minnesota Wild stumble, the team that's like, okay, we'll take that spot. Okay, we'll take that playoff spot, are the Utah Mammoth. Like, look, I know Dallas has had their issues so far this season, but they're going to be right there, as are the Avalanche, as are the Jets. Who else is going to be there? Mammoth are banging the drum right now that it's going to be them. And it's tough it's tough to argue against that, specifically knowing that this is an organization that is not going to sit on its hands. Like there were times previously where we all know that the Coyotes just couldn't do things because financially they just weren't able to do that. Now those days are done, and this is a team, and Ryan Smith has talked about this, the owner has talked about this plenty, about providing this team, this manager, Bill Armstrong, with whatever he needs to get this done. We are standing by for the GM of the Utah Mammoth, Bill Armstrong. In the meantime, I will remind you as well about our friends at Bauer with this just to be blunt, pretty sick stick. This next segment, is a presentation of Bauer and the Bauer Pulse, the first Bauer stick to feature their latest kick point innovation. Powered by 2 distinct energy zones in the shaft, the stick is designed to adapt to your game with the loadability and precision of a mid kick and the explosive, unexpected release of a low kick. Think one for slap shots and one for quick wrist shots or snap shots. Combine all of that with a new raised grip ink on the shaft, and Pulse will stay in your hands while you put the game in your hands. Catch goaltenders by surprise with a quick shot they'll never see coming, or make dynamic plays in the zone that'll have defenders scrambling. Exclusive to Bauer Hockey, the Pulse contains ultra lightweight and rigid boron fiber material, which creates a high strength to weight ratio and optimizes energy storage and increases reactivity. Featured on the 40 Flex sticks and above, the Bauer Pulse launches October 17th. It's out there, folks. My kid used it this weekend in Rochester. 2 goals in the final. No big deal. For more information, check out Bauer.com. This stick really is a work of art with the dual kick points. Anyhow, thanks to our friends at Bauer Hockey. With that, we'll get to our next guest. He is the general manager of the very fun to watch Utah Mammoth. He is Bill Armstrong, and he joins me on the sheet now. Bill, thanks so much for dropping by today. First of all, I don't think I've ever had the chance this season to congratulate you on the logo, and not only the logo too, but the mascot. I'm just going to ask you a frivolous question to start. How much input would the general manager have on the mascot?
Absolutely none. My big thing is to stay in my lane, and don't get too far out of it. But I'll tell you a little bit just quickly about our company. And you have such pride when we work for SEG and Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith. We were revealing the logo that day. And at the same time, behind the curtain, they were redoing the bottom bowl. Mm-hmm. And I just finished my drive in from the practice facility where they were a quarter of the way done. They were doing 3 major things at the same time, and they crushed it. When you showed up for that press conference to release the Mammoth, it was done first class. It was absolutely amazing what they've done. It's a great company. Ryan and his wife do an amazing job. And he lined up in front of the players, said, "We're going to do this, this, and this," and he's delivered on all of them. So it's unbelievable to work for him and be a part of the organization.
Let me ask you about the practice facility, because one of the things, like how did again, I'm not there, so I don't know, how did this thing go up so fast?
I don't know. We were putting a shovel in the ground, and 12 months before that, and now we're walking in. But I gotta tell you a quick GM story. I try not to lounge around, and this is just beautiful area, this incredible workout facility. But the other day, everybody had left, and I had a chance. It was almost like a spa, you know what I mean? They had the running treadmill going in the water, they had the cold and hot tub and the steam. It's an incredible facility. It's first class all the way through, and it's 2 rinks. I can't believe what they've done in a small period of time. It makes our organization an elite organization the way it was done.
Does this recent success surprise you at all, or is this sort of, and again, I'll preface all of this as we all do at this time of year, it's still early, but does this run of success from your team surprise you at all, or is this sort of like, even going back to the Arizona days, is this just like the culmination of all these building blocks?
Yeah, it's a culmination of the building blocks. We've been chipping away at it a long time. We had a guest coach come in one time and see us, and we were in the middle of the rebuild, and he's like, "Wow, you guys are hard on each other in behind the scenes about winning, and where you expect to be." He goes, "You got a hell of a team. You're not ready to kind of get to that level of winning that you think you should be at." And I'm like, "Yeah, but we're pushing. We're pushing now, because when it comes, we're going to expect it." And we've always been hard about the way that we practice, about the way that we prepare, and we deal with analytics and pushing how good we can be. And we've got shooting coaches, we've got strength coaches, we got stick handling coaches, you name it. There are no excuses in this organization. We have the best of the best, and we push it every single day.
Interesting you mentioned, no reason for excuses here. Ryan Smith seems to be singularly focused on providing you and the organization with every reason and every resource to take away all the excuses. Like, there's never going to be a player that drives back home and says, well, we would have been successful if this didn't happen, or if we had the resources to do that. Like, is that something that you feel in your role? Is that something you see around the organization, that you have an ownership group that's like, okay, what are the excuses? Let's get rid of them.
Yeah, that's exactly what Ryan's done, and he has really created an organization you want to come to work for and bleed for. But you definitely walk in that every day just saying there's no excuse, from, the way that the practice rink, the two rinks are designed and how we can move back and forth. After 15 minutes, you practice on one sheet over to the new ice, or you go to our Delta Center and they've put brand new ice technology in with two new dehumidifiers upstairs. Like, everything's done properly. Everything's done right. There's zero excuses in our organization. It's great to be a part of that. I think our players enjoy that. The expectations are high inside the Mammoth, and I do believe that's why you see some of the results that we're achieving now.
One of a couple of like really great highlight moments from this weekend around the NHL. The Macklin celebrating the overtime goal was beautiful. The first time San Jose touched the puck in the overtime. But to me, the play of the weekend was last night, and it's 2-2. It's the third period. You know where I'm going with this one, I'm assuming.
Yes.
JJ Peterka going into the corner in a race with Logan Stanley, who is just like, pardon the expression, a mammoth player. He's massive.
Yeah.
And Peterka wins that physical battle. Ends up being another goal by Dylan Guenther, and the Utah Mammoth win the game. And just looking at, Peterka just like left everything on the ice, including himself. Like, he's still lying on the ice as Guenther is celebrating. What did you see in JJ Peterka when he was with Buffalo that made you go out there this summer and say, we need that guy here?
I saw a player that wanted to win, that has elite talent. Those guys are hard to find, and it was tough to give up Josh Doan. He was a big part of this organization. We loved him from the inside out. He's an unreal kid, along with Michael Kesselring. Those two players were extremely tough to give up for our organization. But when you get a chance to have a game breaker that you can trade for and put in your top two lines, you've got to go for that. And we saw that in JJ. We saw a player that wanted to win, wanted to be in the big moments, and would provide the effort. And we certainly know he has the talent. And that line is just getting going. I still think there's a lot of growth in that line. They haven't found complete chemistry just yet, but you can see some of the output that they've had and how dangerous they are off the rush. I would have to say they're probably one of the fastest lines in the National Hockey League.
When you look at lines, and you've seen so many over the years, both as a player, manager, I've always been of the belief that the most successful lines exist when you have three players that can do three distinct things. And I'll go back like old school and think of like Trottier did something different than Bossy, who did something different than Gillies. And that's why that all worked. Do you, in your mind, follow the same philosophy?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they can all do the same thing. They trip over each other, and I think it's a great point by you. And they've all got to do a little bit different. But sometimes you do build lines where they're not going to the net, and you got to sit down and have a chat with them. And I think our coach Andre Tourné has done a great job. It's like, hey, Dylan Guenther wants to play with Cooley. Cooley wants to play with Dylan Guenther, and Peterka wants to play with both you guys. Somebody's got to go to the net. If you all want to play together, somebody's got to go to the net. If you want bread, you go to the bakery. You want money, you go to the bank. You want goals, you got to go to the front of the net. So It's that simple. So, if you guys want to play together, somebody's got to go to the net. And I think they've done a really great job of responding to that and really kind of, they've got speed. Speed's hard to defend. Speed catches you when you're dead on the end of a shift and, they're going the other way, 500 miles an hour. You watch those guys in practice. It's crazy what they can accomplish with the speed, and that's one thing systems can't really defend against is speed. And so I think we're a fast team. From Michael Carconio on our fourth line to JJ Peterka or Keller or even Smolty, they can all push the pace. So I do think that we're getting to be an elite skating team, and we're going to continue building on that. I don't think our team is fully complete. I think we're about 60% built. We still got some kids coming, and still want to push even more.
The one thing that we do wonder about this year's edition of the Utah Mammoth, now that as other teams sort of, are having a hard time getting it together, you seem to be quite content to take those spots and to take those points. Thank you very much. Given where this organization has been and now what it has the ability to do, I have a hard time believing that in your mind that this team is anywhere close to done. Should we expect the Mammoth to be an active player this year?
Well, every morning as a GM, you wake up, the first thought that goes through your head is how to make your team better. So we definitely have a ton of picks still to go, a ton of assets and prospects. We're a pretty flexible organization. We didn't tie ourselves up with deals that were, huge free agent deals in the summer. We do have a lot of flexibility. So I do think, if we ever have a chance, we certainly won't look away to add to make our team better. We're always going to look to improve. Obviously there's a timeline and you got to be smart about it. There's some things you get excited about and then you're like, I'm not sure I want to go down that road for the next 7 to 8 years. So, we have a timeline of our age of our kids. Like, I'll tell you, we started the game yesterday. We had Simashev was 20, Cooley's 21, Gunther 22, and JJ Peterka 23. And the old guy on the line was Sergachev at 27. So we're going to stick to that timeline in that time frame and try to acquire players that can help us win in that timeline.
You mentioned Andre Tournier a second ago. I used to love watching his practices when he ran the Ottawa 67s. Now, mind you, he had a really highly skilled team. If it weren't for COVID, we were all waiting for this great showdown with them in Peterborough, these two powerhouses in the OHL. And, it just would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, we never got it. But I used to love watching his practices. And what I really loved, Bill, was watching how he talked to kids, like how he talked to young athletes. And you just talked about that demographic, that main demographic that your team fits into, and I look at that and I say, this is a perfect NHL team for Bear.
Yeah.
What have you noticed about him with this team?
Well, he set the culture from day one coming in. We're going to practice hard. We're going to work. We're going to go to work, and that hasn't changed to where he is now. And he's done a great job at raising the kids the right way, making them accountable, making sure they had to earn their ice time and their situations that they got put in. And, Logan Cooley is a prime example of earning his ice time and earning his way through it and raising him right. And that's on Barry. He's done a great job, and there are some lean years there and he was able to communicate, not leave scars. And that's what he does best. And he's got a motivated, young, hungry group here that are pushing. And that has a lot to do with the way that he practices and relates to the players.
I want to ask you about another coach, Corey Schwab. Corey Schwab is not a big self-promoter. I know he doesn't get talked about in the circles that he probably should as far as being a goalie coach. And this goes back to the Coyotes and even back to San Jose. Like he's helped with Aiden Hill Stanley Cup, Darcy Kemper Stanley Cup. Like he's really graduated and developed a lot of goaltenders that are around the NHL that he still has his fingerprints all over. He's a pretty laid back guy, as you know. What do you think everybody should know by now about Corey Schwab, the great goaltending coach that never gets talked about at all?
Yeah, he is a great goaltending coach, and he's certainly helped a lot of goaltenders go the right way coming out of here. And whether he's working with Antti Raanta at the time and just making those guys the best that they can be. It's a big part of his teaching technique in the way that he works, and he provides consistency every single day. He's extremely protective of his goaltenders in the meeting. One thing that you left out is he's got a little stubbornness and a little bit of a temper, which I do like. He definitely has the voice of the goaltender. And definitely sticking up for the goaltender in those meetings for sure. But his consistency in what he provides, and he brings out the best in those goaltenders. And I think the goaltenders trust him, that they know that he's not trying to change their style. They're just trying to perfect it.
I remember having a conversation once with Doug McLean when we worked together, and we were talking about meetings, with the goaltending coach, and he would say that Walmsley after every goal, he'd always say, "Oh, that was tipped. Oh, that was deflected. Oh, that was tipped." And Doug would always say, "Does every tip have to go in? Does every single tip have to go in? Is Corey that was tipped, or he was screened, or or is deflected? Is it like that type of feedback from the goalie coach?"
Well, he definitely lets you know, about that side of it, what they were experiencing. And I think that's the strength of Schwabe, is that he definitely rolls out his opinion and he sees it through the goaltender's eyes. I think he's pretty good at getting his goaltenders to work hard and be honest in practice. I've always said you can see a lot in practice in your goaltenders, whether it's pregame skate, which ones are dialed in. And that's what I think his strength is getting his goaltenders to compete in practice and get the right structure. And then they show up on game day and they get it done.
A couple more for you before I let you get on with your afternoon. I'm just going to put this out there and see how you react. Nick Schmaltz leads the league in points. Bill?
It's a great thing. Yeah, it's a great thing. Well, Nick's an unreal kid. I've known him for a long time. And he's a quiet kid too. He's got an inner competitiveness about him. He put a lot of time and effort into working hard this summer. And I think the thing that you love about what he did was he attacked it the right way. He got bigger and stronger, and he put a lot of time into being better around the front of the net. I think he led the slot chances last year in the National Hockey League. So he went back and cleaned it up, and he showed a tremendous amount of finish this year around the tough areas in front of the net. But that's a credit to him. Confidence comes from a source, and his source was his work ethic and what he accomplished this summer.
It's great to see. Last one for you. Who do you think that, as much as, Peterka and Cooley and Sergachev and Clayton Keller, we haven't even talked about Clayton Keller, all the headline makers on Utah all get discussed. Who do you think that we're sleeping on your team? Like, I love Jack McBain. You have some guys that play hard. I love Jack McBain and Lawson Krause and Kevin Stenlund. Like, who do you think that we're all missing here? Take a swipe at the media, Bill. Who are we missing?
Yeah, well, we got some heart and soul guys like Sean Dursey, that just bleed behind the scenes for our team. He's injured now, but when he's in there, man, it's all in. It's all in, blocking shots any way he can to help us win. The kid that you probably are not aware of a little bit, that he's not going to put up huge amount of points, but he's like Parayko. We drafted him with Simashev. He played and won a championship in the KHL. He's a huge man. He goes about 6'5", 230. He's the best skating big man, D man. He was covering Kyrou and the other night McKinnon, and they kind of had that look like, hey, this guy's still with me. He's a big man that provides a great shutdown. So he's not going to stand out and tear the world apart. But we need him to shut down the other team's best lines, and he's a big man. And when you watch his skating, you're like, wow, he can move.
He's massive. He's a large human being. Bill, thanks for this. Your team continues to be a lot of fun to watch. Keep it rolling. Looks good to shake things up in the Western Conference. Thanks for stopping by today.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate being on.
There he is. Bill Armstrong is the general manager of the Arizona Coyotes. Simashev is massive. You get a chance to stand next to this guy. Get ready to look up. We thank Bill for stopping by today, and thank the Utah Mammoth organization for making him available. We've kind of highlighted, Zach, like two of the more fun teams to watch. There's a few. To me, the destination television team is still the Montreal Canadiens, just because they have so many players that can bring you out of your seat. But if you haven't seen the Utah Mammoth play this year, go out of your way to watch them. If you haven't seen New Jersey, no one's perfectly healthy, but New Jersey is a lot of fun to watch too. Anything out of that Bill Armstrong interview that caught your attention?
Well, maybe other than my favorite quote of all time now that I'm going to carry with me forever, you want bread, go to the bakery. You want money, go to the bank. You want goals, go to the net.
It's a good one, eh? I like a good
I could
hockey
hold on to
cliche.
that one for
I like
a
a
long
good
time.
hockey cliche. Yeah. Fiddlers fiddle and dancers
That's-
dance. Yeah, cows don't make ham. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. That's the one that I'm going to teach nephews and my kids and all.
Oh,
It's going to just be
jeez.
recycled forever.
Oh, man. Yeah, don't
No, the interesting thing is the way you kind of close that off when you ask him about players that we're not necessarily talking about, and obviously that's one of them there. But like Dursey bringing up and the heart and soul and bleeding for the team and
awesome.
everything, it's very evident that he plays that way. But then you and I had just talked about before he got on that there's buy-in from the other guys. We watched JJ Paterka go in there,
Paterka.
and, dealing with damage to his face to make a play to lead to a Dylan Gunther goal. And you watch Cooley and Gunther and those guys who are the more skilled guys of that team, the skilled guys maybe you could say of that team, going in to corner battles, taking hits, like committing to it. And it's just like, if you've been in locker rooms, you've been around things before, that those guys like Sean Dursey, because they do what they do, it helps facilitate that culture through the rest of the guys. You need that player to make sure that the other people will buy in. And it's kind of funny, like you hear about that. It's like, yeah, you see it through everyone else. And then you hear where that guy is and obviously you watch him play. But yeah, Sean Dursey is one of those guys. He also came through a team close
There
to
we go. I was wondering when you'd get there. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does this mean
Yeah.
for the Maple Leafs? What does this mean
Nah,
for
nah,
the Maple Leafs? Okay, listen.
See, the thing is, Jeff, by
Yeah.
the way, I'll just quickly say, I don't actually always think about that stuff, but it's funny now because each person that like has any sort of tie, like I'm aware of it. I'm aware of what's going on in the NHL. I've now gotten to a point here where I'm making sure that it has to be brought up. People need to know that there's a connection.
Grandpa Zach.
Oh, wait,
tell us
I don't
about-
need to know
Tell us
anymore.
about Fraser Minton.
Yeah. Move on. We have other things to do.
All right, we got to do is we got to wrap up the program here today, and two great guests. That was a lot of fun. The Sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. It's the NHL season, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to Bet Slip, we've got you covered all season with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Miss the puck drop, no sweat. With a live same game parlay, you can build your bets up until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly, 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. Tomorrow it's 16 games. Today it's 2 games around the NHL. So settle in and actually watch a complete hockey game. Just be a dummy like me and bounce around everything. What are we thinking today?
2 games on tonight's schedule. We got St. Louis at Pittsburgh, Boston at Ottawa here tonight. This is honestly one of those ones that, each day I've come on here. Maybe it's just because there's not as many games, but I've kind of said to you, I'm surprised this team is this favored in this position or whatever. This just makes sense to me. Ottawa minus 172, big favorites against the Bruins. St. Louis slight favorites here tonight against the Penguins. This is just a good night to sit down and watch a couple of games, watch the World Series. It's easy television viewing for everybody tonight.
It is. One thing that I want to point out here, Joel Hofer gets the start for the St. Louis Blues. Joel Hofer is 6'5". Okay, large goaltenders, had some real successful seasons in a couple in the NHL and a couple in the American Hockey League right now. He's having a miserable start to the season. Really bad. His save percentage is .789, albeit only after 3 games, but .789. And as one person told me on the weekend, he's never seen a big goalie play so small. I like Joel Hofer a lot. I hope that things work out for Joel Hofer. I mean, he's kind of been like the heir apparent in St. Louis for a couple of years here. I don't know why the wheels have gone off so early for Hofer this year. But you wonder at which point, when you start seeing a save percentage of 789, like what that does to you mentally. And maybe he's tough enough to block it out. I hope so. But it looks like he gets to start tonight against Tristan Jarry and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are playing with Fountain of Youth man, Yevgeny Malkin, who we talked about off the top of the program today. So, it's funny, Gregor and I were talking about this on Rundown, recording last night. And, I don't think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to continue just like this. But let's say the Pittsburgh Penguins, around trade deadline time or around a playoff spot. Are you really going to go to Sidney Crosby and say, you know what, we got to do what's right for the long-term plan here? Or do you say, Sid, we're going to try to get you in one more playoffs here? Everybody knows what the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing.
Yeah.
Does all of it hit pause because they're around a playoff spot? I don't think Malkin's going to be top 5 in scoring by the end of the season. It's a fun story right now. It's great. It's fun to watch him play. I know, it's curious. We've seen teams play against their manager before or against their organization. As a matter of fact, there was once a team where they had 5 hockey players who I believe they referred to colloquially as the Muskoka Five, who all refused to waive their no-trade clauses because they were going to make the playoffs. Dum-da-dum-da-dum. Who could that have been? Zach.
That's
anyhow. I digress.
Muskoka, California. Or
Yeah,
There's another
sure.
one?
Okay, yeah. We'll go along with that. But what do you do for the Penguins? And this continues all season long. I know we're just talking about 10 games in here, but what happens if this continues? How much does that change everything? Not long term, but for this year, right? There's an old saying by LBJ. I was mentioning this on the show as well. Plans are useless, but planning is everything. Plans are useless, but planning is everything. You have to have a plan going into the season, but really what you're doing is you go with whatever is working and however the season takes you, and you just react to it. You can't be rigid. You can't let the cement harden around any of your ideas. The Pittsburgh Penguins suddenly find themselves in a position where they might make the playoffs, and here comes trade deadline. Well, you behave as if you're about to make the playoffs, don't you?
No. Hang on,
hang on.
But no.
Hang on. The wild card here is Sidney Crosby and what you owe him as an organization.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think what you end up doing, your conversation, because in that instance, you would technically have 3 possible ways to approach it. One would be you go in and try to make something happen here in the playoffs, which would be trading pieces and stuff. That's off the table. You cannot do that if you're the Penguins. Respectfully, you just cannot. You can't. I know where you're at with Sid and Malkin and all these guys. You can't do it because you're going to sacrifice. It's not saying to him, hey, think about the long term. It's literally just being dude, this might hurt us next year, by going and doing that. Not long term, by trying to make some of these moves. So then the others would become, tell Sid, this is how I view it. You tell Sid, hey, we're okay with trying to make the playoffs here, with you guys making the push. You've done it all season long, but we are not going to go out and go crazy and add pieces. And then the other option is, Sid, you're close, buddy, but not this year. Florida called and they're looking for Malkin.
Ooh.
And then you have different
non-expiring
conversation.
contract. We got to get something for him.
Right, but I think if you're close or in the wild card at that point, then I think it's more of hey, you know what? This can help the young guys. They get to be competitive. They get to be in a playoff push. And then maybe you actually do make the playoffs, and then that's good for them too because you get to go and compete. But the conversation has to kind of come down to hey, Sid, are you okay with making the playoffs and that being the extent of it? Maybe you make a miracle run, maybe, but you make the playoffs. Or do you understand where we're coming from and we tap out here? I think that, I don't know. I know Sid has to mostly be the one to approach you with it, but I think when you have that conversation, because if you're in that position, you will, it's going to be there. Those are the 2 options. You cannot go with the third one, no matter how much I love Sid and want to see him in the playoffs and how much respect they have for him. You can't do that. You cannot do it for the organization's sake.
I think it'd be a fun situation. Just as someone that's not there, I think it'd be fun for the Penguins fans. Just like one season out of nowhere, bam! Here we go. We're going.
That's fine. They can make the playoffs. I don't think that's that bad for them, but like you're not calling and trying to get some rental.
Oh, I know.
Or, like some guy with a year, like to make the team. Like, yeah,
I know.
Yeah. I think it would be fun if they make the playoffs. You're like, oh yeah, this team stinks, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the Penguins. What the hell?
Crosby's in the postseason. Here we go. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay, on that, we'll wrap things up. Thanks so much for joining us today, either on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks to everybody in the chat, as always. And again, subscribe if you haven't already to our Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. If you've already done so, thank you. If you haven't, what is holding you up? Thanks to the New Jersey Devils for making Sheldon Keefe available. Thank you to the Utah Mammoth for making Bill Armstrong available. And thanks to you for making some time in your day available to watch or listen to this property. Tomorrow, 16 games. So we'll be doing a little bit of a different program tomorrow here on the sheet. So stay tuned for that, 1 o'clock Eastern. Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen tomorrow, Morning Cup of Hockey at 9 o'clock Eastern. And then at noon, is Tyler back tomorrow? Yaremchuk? Irf was in for him today. Not sure. Along with Carter Hutton tomorrow. That is DFO Live starting at noon Eastern. Thanks for the buns and the use of the hall. We're back tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern for the sheet. Thanks so much for joining me today. Jeff Merrick along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Face-Off, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for the sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy. It's true.